Hey guys, welcome to another video. My name is Rashmi Devangan. Air traffic services is a very important and integral part of civil aviation. It provides information and navigation services and lots of other facilities to the aircrafts flying over the territory of India as well as in other states as well. They have some other units. So we'll be learning about those services and those units of the civil aviation in this chapter. So let's get started. So let's start with the objectives of air traffic services. So its basic function is to prevent collision between the flights in the maneuvering area on the ground or the ones which are airborne, and also to prevent the collision between the flights and any obstructions from the land. Then to maintain orderly flow of the air traffic, and then to provide advisory and information, any help needed to the aircrafts. And lastly, it has to notify appropriate organizations during any emergency or search or rescue operations. Air traffic services can be divided into three parts: aerodrome control service, approach control service, and area control service. So as the aerodrome control service name suggests, it is within the vicinity of the aerodrome only. Approach control is for landing and takeoff, and area control is the area which is different from aerodrome and approach control service and the other area, as in the one which falls in the ATS route, but not immediately in the vicinity of the aerodrome, but maybe you can say in the water bodies as well. So these area control services, they play a role in providing information as and how needed by the aircrafts. So moving on to the radio communication. So in this point here, prior to taxiing for departure, and also if you are operating in airspace C and D, then you have to directly communicate to the approach and aerodrome control units. In case of IFR and VFR flight both, if they are operating in C and D airspace, appropriate VHF apparatus and radio compass should be equipped in the flight. To enter the ATZ, a request clearance has to be made from the aerodrome and the approach control units, any one of them, if you are operating either IFR flight or the VFR flight. Next is that the flight information services. So apart from that, there are flight information services as well as alerting services. So as the name suggests, alerting service will alert the aircraft in case of any emergency, urgency, or search and rescue operations. And the flight information service will be the one which will be providing you certain informations after ATCS. ATCS is Air Traffic Control Service. We'll be reading about it later. So if that is not available, then this flight information services are provided to you so as to take any proper steps, whatever steps has to be taken next. But it won't give you exact precise like all the informations, but the second thing is the FIS only. And also apart from that, they also give some weather informations also. Again, we'll be discussing about it in detail. FIR means Flight Information Region. So these are the portions in the airspace where Flight Information Service and the alerting services both are provided. Next comes the control area and the control zones. So these areas are the ones in which air traffic control services are given to IFR flights, and for the VFR flights to be flying in the control area and control zones. That area is known as the class B, C, D. So only if it is class B, C and D airspaces, VFR flights can fly in the control area and control zone. The controlled aerodrome is the one which provides air traffic control services to the aerodrome traffic. Coming to the different types of airspaces, there are airspaces from A to G. A, B, C, D, E, F, G. So the airspace A is the most restricted one, and it is considered to be the very much closest to the aerodrome. So only IFR flights are permitted to fly in airspace A, applicable to terminal. This airspace is applicable to the terminal control area, and control zone. So it is within the control airspace, right? And all the flights are provided. Air traffic control service, ATCS, is provided to all the flights here. Only IFR flights function, not the VFR. VFR is not permitted in Class A airspace. Important. Next is airspace B. In this, VFR, IFR, both flights are permitted. It is within the controlled airspace, and all the flights are provided air traffic control service. So not much difference between A and B, only that the VFR flights are also permitted here. Coming to Class C, so it is also within the controlled airspace. Both IFR, VFR flights are permitted. Air traffic control services are provided, and IFR separated from the IFR and VFR flights. VFR flights are also separated from IFR flights, and they receive traffic information with respect to VFR flights, other VFR flights. Next, airspace D. It is also within the controlled airspace. IFR, VFR, both flights are permitted. Air traffic control services are given to all aircrafts, and IFR flights are separated from IFR, and traffic information is provided for VFR flights. For VFR flights, traffic information is provided for all the other aircrafts. Till D, it is within a controlled airspace. From E onwards, it is not within the controlled airspace. So they are beyond the controlled airspace. But in A airspace, within ATS route segment, it is within the corridor. You can say the ATS corridor. So both the IFR and VFR flights are permitted. IFR flights are given ATCS services and separated by IFR flights, and all flights receive the traffic information. Coming to the F airspace, so it is same as the one in the E airspace, except that the separation information is not given here and traffic advisory is given, but all the flights will receive flight information if requested. So here in this case, the pilots have to request for the traffic information. In the G, it is the same as above, but the flight information is requested. So Class C airspace is of a little bit of a deal here. So if an airport is capable of handling 20 aircrafts per hour in a runway, and also it is equipped with primary and secondary radars, 4,000 feet to flight level 285. That area is known as Class C airspace. Understood? So there are 3 conditions. First condition, that 20 aircrafts or more per hour can be operated in a runway. It should be equipped with primary and secondary radar. Third, its height above the ground should start from 4,000 and it extends up to flight level 285. So that airspace is known as Class C airspace. In Class D airspace, it's almost the same like C, but its lateral distance is restricted. Lateral limit is there, 30 nautical mile radius. Okay. So as we already discussed that the A airspace is the most restricted one and G is the least one. Flight information region has no lateral limit. It extends vertically up to the region which is specified for the limit which is specified for FIR. So that is about FIR, and it is providing the flight information service and the alerting service. We already talked about it. So FIRs and location indicators. So the location is indicated by a 4-letter code. This rule was made by ICAO. So for that, ICAO divided the world into 22 different divisions. This was called AFSRA, that is Aeronautical Fixed Stations, and each AFSRA is assigned a alphabet which denotes a country or a state name. So the first alphabet denotes which AFSRA it belongs to, second one denotes the state or country, third and fourth the place and station. So in India, Mumbai has been assigned A, Kolkata E, Delhi I, and Chennai O. Some other indicators. NDB is 2 or 3 letters in length, and it should all be capital letters. And VOR has 3-letter capital ones, and ILS is also a 4-letter code, and it starts with I. Aerodrome is 4 capital letters long. Significant points are 5 capital letters including 2 vowels. Routes are at least 1 alphabet and 1 number should be there. For domestic routes in India, it starts with W. Route designator are A, B, G, R, W. These are actually called as the color name: amber, blue, green, red and white. Lastly, SIDs and stars. So these starts with NDB or VOR or a significant point indicators, and it is followed by the numbers and may have alphabet also suffixed. The prohibited areas are denoted by P, restricted ones R, and dangerous ones as D. So as it is denoted that the prohibited area is the one where the aircrafts are prohibited to enter, and restricted ones are in this area aircrafts are restricted to enter. This is due to the fact that maybe military exercises or the camps are there in that place, and that is of international security. So that is why aircrafts are not allowed to enter that area. And the danger areas are the one in which for a particular period of time some activities are existing or it is going on which might cause danger to the flights. That is why that is called a danger area, and it is notified by NOTAMs. Next is military exercise and training areas. So the military exercise and training areas consist of 2 different areas, which is known as temporary segregated areas TSA and temporary reserved areas TRA. So the denotions, the identification of these areas are done as follows. For both of them, it either starts with TSA, TRA accordingly, and it is followed by by the numbers starting from 500 to 999. So it is according to the locations again, and then it is followed by the name of that place, and these are enclosed within the square brackets. So in this case, Mumbai has been allotted 501 to 600, Kolkata 601 to 700, Delhi 701 to 800, Chennai 801 to 900, and for the future use 901 and 999 has been kept. If within an aerodrome traffic zone ATZ, the local flight and the training flight has to submit flight plan on fax or either on the telephone. And if the aerodrome is not having any traffic zone or no airspace reserved for local flight, in that case, area of 5 nautical mile radius and 3000 feet above the ground is treated as the area for VFR flying. For the cross-country flights, the training and civil aircraft, if they are doing a cross-country flight and if no aerodrome traffic zone is there, flight plan has to be submitted by fax or by phone, and in that flight plan, elapsed time to reach the IFR boundary has to be there, and also in field number 18, pilot's phone number should be mentioned. Moving on. Control area and control zone. Okay, so these are two important zones or areas which has to be kept in mind. So within, if you keep aerodrome in the center, from that area, if we extend 5 nautical mile radius and draw a circle and extend that circle upwards, there will be a cylinder formed, and up to certain height, say it is 5,000 feet or something, that area is known as control zone. It does not include more than 2 aerodromes. I'm so sorry, I'll take that back. It can include 2 or more aerodromes. And the control area is the area which starts where the control zone's height ends, and from there it goes up to the no limits up to the sky, and the minimum height where it starts should be at least 700 feet. How will you identify area control center and approach control center, aerodrome control center? So area control center is identified by the town or the geographical features name. Aerodrome or approach control is denoted by the name of the aerodrome. Control zone, area and FIR is having the name of the unit jiska jurisdiction is over that place. So moving on to the emergency category. In this, the aircraft which has been subjected to unlawful interference will be given maximum attention, maximum priority against all the other flights who have the urgent requests or emergency because of the circumstances maybe. In such case of emergency, you can either send an urgency message via the data link or communicate with the help of SSR transponder. In that case, you can switch on to mode A and code 7700. Otherwise, you can do that. You can switch on to mode A and code 7500. This means this code is specifically for the unlawful interference. It will say that you have been you have been unlawfully interfered. That means either you are hijacked or some people are some person or a group of people or any such incidents are taking place on the aircraft which is jeopardizing the safety of the aircraft or the people on board. Also, you can activate the appropriate emergency or urgency capability of ADS, or you can transmit the appropriate emergency message via CPDLC. Now we'll be talking about air traffic control services. So it is provided to all the IFR flights in classes, airspace classes A, B, C, D, E, and to all the VFR flights in the airspaces classes B, C, and D, and for all the specialized VFR flights, and also to the aerodrome traffic at a controlled aerodrome. What are the operations? So it provides separation between all the flights in class A, B airspace, between IFR flights in class C, D, E airspace, between IFR and VFR flights in class C airspace, also between the IFR and special VFR flights, and between special VFR flights as prescribed by the Directorate General. The separation minima is given in PAN-SATIAM and regional supplementary procedures. Also, for all the clearances and safety related information has to be read back. and these can be ATC route clearance, or the clearance and instructions to enter, land on, take off, hold short, etc. Or also you can say if they're telling about the runway which is in use, and altimeter setting, SSR codes, level instructions, ATS broadcasts also. So all these things has to be read back. Now there's something called air traffic flow management. As the name suggests, it means that an optimum utilization of the resources has to be done. The resources will include aerospace and airport, aircrafts, everything in the Indian airport has to be used in its maximum capacity. So here the Airport Authority of India has appointed or established Central Air Traffic Flow Management, which is CATFM. This is again divided into two parts, which is CCC. This stands for Central Command Center, and this is in Delhi, and it is supported by Flow Management Positions, FMP. So in the phase 1, they have elected or appointed 6 FMPs, which is in Mumbai, Delhi, Kolkata, Bangalore, Hyderabad and Chennai. So these airports, they cover almost around 60% of the traffic of India. And in the phase 2, they have decided to appoint more 30 airports. So the Flight Information Service is the one that will be providing you all the information which is related to weather, SIGMET report, indication about the volcanic activity, the CB or the thunderstorm approaching, and also it will be telling you about the unmanned free balloon if there is any in the vicinity of your aircraft, also about all the other serviceable navigation aids they will provide you with. So this is broadcasted via VATIS or DATIS. VATIS is Voice ATIS, Automatic Terminal Information Service, and D is Data Link Automatic Terminal Information Service. So these are provided to reduce the communication load on ATS VHF air-ground communication channels. So the discrete VHF frequency shall be used when practicable, and so for this case also the VOR navigation aids like VOR can be used to communicate the same, and it should not be communicated over the voice channel of ILS, and it should be it is a repetitive message, and its length is maximum 30 seconds. So an FIS information is limited, or it is restricted to a single aerodrome only, and who is responsible for this? ATS is responsible, and it should be told in an alphabetic order, and also it will tell you about the current altimeter setting. And then for approaching and departure of the aircraft, weather, runway conditions, all these things that we already discussed, these will be covered within this FIS. The Air Traffic Advisory Service is the next unit of ATS that will be giving you all the advisory and information outside the controlled zone in Class F airspace. Next, moving on to the alerting services. So this is provided to all the aircraft who are utilizing ATCS, or those who have submitted flight plans, and those who have also have been subjected to unlawful interference in any case. The FIC and Area Control Center Well, these are the center point of collecting information in case of any emergency within the controlled airspace, and they pass this information to the rescue coordination unit, and this rescue coordination unit, they further take this issue and act accordingly. Let's talk about different state of emergency. So first is uncertainty phase. In this case, no communication is established with the aircraft for at least 30 minutes. And also it is said to be an uncertainty phase if the aircraft fails to land within 30 minutes of estimated time of arrival, or within 30 minutes of when it was last communication had been established. So that is known as uncertainty phase. Next point is the alert phase. So the alert phase is again following the uncertainty phase. No communication has been established, and it has not landed in the runway within 5 minutes after the clearance has been given to land. And also if it has been sensed that the operations of that aircraft has been impaired, but not up to the extent that it will have to do the forced landing. And also it is known as the alert phase if any unlawful interference has happened in that flight. The distress phase is the last one. So it will be following the alert phase that no communication has been established, and it has been sensed, or it has been accepted that the fuel may have been exhausted from that aircraft, and the forced landing was likely. So it was in distress condition, it is considered that the aircraft would need the immediate assistance because of any possible conditions, either failure of the engines or any other weather conditions, etc. And forced landing has to be made. Also, as I said, it will be needing the immediate assistance. So if there is any other aircraft in the vicinity of the aircraft in the emergency, they will be notified about it. So we'll be moving on to the principles governing the identification of RNP types and the identification of ATS routes other than standard departure and arrival routes. So it should be an ATS route designator, and it can be supplemented with either one prefix as prescribed and one additional letter as prescribed. This should not exceed 6 characters. Also, if the number of characters required to encompass the designator should, whenever possible, be kept a maximum of 5 characters. Next, the basic designator shall consist of one letter of alphabet followed by a number from 1 to 999. Then the selection of letters shall be made from the list like this. So A, B, G and R, these are for routes which form part of the regional network of ATS routes and are not area navigation routes. L, M and P for area navigation routes which form part of the regional networks of ATS routes. H, J, V, W, these ones are for the routes which do not form part of regional network of ATS routes and are not area navigation routes. Then lastly, Q, T, Y, Z. These are for area navigation routes which do not form part of regional network of ATS routes. So apart from that, another prefix can be used, that is K for low level routes. Primarily they are used for helicopters, U for upper airspace, and S for any aircrafts flying in the supersonic speed, either accelerating, decelerating in a supersonic flight. Also, a suffix F can be added if only advisory service is provided to them, and G if only flight information service is provided to them. Next, coming to the ATS routes in India. So, to enter Indian airspace, ATC clearance is required at least 10 minutes prior to entering. If you want to cross the ATS routes, then also ATC clearance is required at least 10 minutes in preference if you are operating a VHF flight, and in case of IFR, if you are using a route radio frequency, then you will be requiring the ATC clearance at least 20 minutes prior. Then one FIR, if you want to move from one FIR to other FIR, this one is only for the foreign FIRs. If you have to move from foreign FIR to the Indian FIR, then in that case also 10-minute prior ATC clearance is required. And if you wish to cross the route, then you have to do it at an angle of 90 degree or very close to it. The position route to be given after half an hour. Okay, so position has to be reported to the ATC after half an hour of the flight, and then after 1 hour interval thereafter. Then minimum altitude needs to be 1000 feet and 10 kilometer needs to be the range. And also all the flights are forbidden to operate within 15 nautical miles of the international border unless specifically permitted by the authority, obviously. And the scheduled international flights are permitted to flight plan using domestic ATS route segments to or from the destination, departure and approved alternate airports in India which are not connected by the international ATS routes. Okay, and flying outside the ATS routes is not permitted unless it is authorized by the ATC. Lastly, what are strayed aircrafts? The aircrafts which are deviated significantly from its intended track, and so they are also reported as lost by some ATS. So in that case, the air traffic service will be provided to bring them back into a proper track, and they'll be designated as a strayed one or unidentified by another also. So that needs to be kept in mind, that you have to follow a proper track and do not deviate from the one which has been allotted to you by the air traffic service. So as a summary, you can say that the types of services that were provided by the air traffic services are the air traffic control service, the main one, air traffic advisory service for providing advisory, and flight information service and alerting services, and also surveillance services. And also there is no distinction between upper and lower control airspaces. So the chapter ends here. I hope you found this video helpful, and if you like the video, give it a thumbs up and support me if you want to see such videos coming up in future. So do subscribe to my channel and keep watching. Thank you so much. I'll see you in the next one.